Scorpio, the message that I have for your reading is that they laughed at your quirks, mocked your voice, pointed fingers at the way you moved, dressed, dreamed. But it was never really about you. It was about what you reflected. Parts of them they buried deep, parts they didn't have the courage to express. You didn't fit the mold, so they tried to crush it. You reminded them of the freedom they forfeited, of the truth they silenced, of the self they abandoned to belong. You were the mirror, and they couldn't stand the glare. So they labeled you too much, too sensitive, too different. But what they really meant was too free to control. So you turned the ridicule into resilience, the shame into fire, the alienation into armor. And now they whisper about your power like it's a problem, because they never expected the outcast to become the storm. What do we have at the foundation of the reading? Strength, Leo energy at the foundation of the reading. Scorpio, you're entering into this chapter of your life where I feel that you're finally pushing forward in power. You're not allowing anybody else and their opinions to keep you small. There has been a tremendous force inside the Scorpio collective that is really trying to minimize you, your gifts, who you're meant to be in this world, because these individuals are too scared to become who they're being guided to become on their path. Because in order to do that, they have to face themselves, right? We all have to face our shadow. You know, the process of awakening is one of the most difficult things you will go through. People want to know truth. People want to know the deeper meaning to life. But in order for these answers to come to you, your life needs to fall apart in some capacity. Not because you're cursed, but because the lies that all of us have lived at some point on our path can't be present when this truth is presented to you. You essentially need to wake up, is really the simplest way I can put this. The unraveling of your life isn't punishment, it's preparation for what the universe is going to show you. See, being called by God is in no way, shape, or form glamorous. It's a complete disassembly of any sort of false foundations that you have built your life on. If you want divine truth, be ready to lose everything built on the lie. And this perfectly encapsulates your energy, Scorpio, because you are transformation personified. But these other individuals, they're not brave enough to do what you've done. They are not strong enough to go down the path that you have chosen to go down. But there's also something in them having to watch you go down that path that makes their blood boil, because they're left with no choice once you're gone to sit with that cold, echoing sound that is their own truth that they refuse to face. So they come for you. They want you to lack any sort of discipline. See, the thing is, Scorpio, a lot of you were incarnated into families, into specific communities to be that trigger of awakening for other people around you. That's really the position that Scorpios hold inside the collective. You don't realize that that's the path that has been assigned to you until much later on. But you incarnate into these communities and you begin to mirror back to these people everything that's broken inside of them. Not in a way that's bad or negative, it's just truth. It just is what it is. And at the same time, you are also on your healing journey, but you have an understanding of healing. You recognize it, you face it. You're okay with being flawed. See, Scorpios can embrace that more than any other zodiac sign because you see power in the flaws. You see how that makes you unique. You know that if it's a flaw that's holding you back and you heal it, you can very much use it to elevate yourself because you can turn it into wisdom. And the strength card coming out right at the root chakra, right at the foundation of the reading, is really identifying everything that you have had to go through to get to where you are. You've had to go through many storms. You've had many lonely nights. You've cried many tears, but you've come out the other end, the person that you only ever dreamed about being, or you're going through this process right now. But a lot of these people are starting to really recognize now that you were placed in their life. You were a gift. You were to show them the way. Most of the people who hurt you were sent for you to heal, not to fix, not to save, but to reveal what was hidden in them and in you. See, as a Scorpio, your pain is never random. It's assigned by the universe. It's all meant to unfold this way. And when you're a vessel for healing, like I said, you become a mirror. And although they didn't ask for you, and often can't handle you because your presence triggers their shadows, your light agitates their spiritual wounds, and even amongst any sort of betrayal and heartbreak, all you were doing was what you were assigned to do by the divine. You didn't come here to be understood. You came here to be transformational. What do we have at the sacral, please? Perfect. Magician at the sacral. A lot of you are preparing to enter this season where people are really starting to regretting not having supported you, Scorpio. Your growth, everything you've built up until this point is completely undeniable. I feel this energy around the Scorpio collective of just utter shock that you were able to pull off what you've pulled off in the wake of so much resistance, so much pushback. It really is a testament to your strength. And it's also become very clear to people that you have a force around you that they can't explain, but you know it's spirit. It's the divine presence in your life that has been with you this whole time. And you know, when these people had you around, Scorpio, they really took you for granted. And their biggest mistake was thinking that you would always stay, that you would never leave. I'm hearing nothing confuses a manipulator more than thinking they're in control, when really you're 10 steps ahead. The Scorpio collective is preparing to enter into this season where all of the things that you have spoken about, the things you have been dreaming about, all the things that you told people you were going to do, you're actually doing these things. You're actually pulling them off, or you're well on your way. See, the beautiful thing about the Scorpio energy as well, once you reach the top, you reach even further and you elevate again. It's endless, right? And that aligns perfectly with the Scorpio archetype. You are transformation. So this is something that you go through over and over again. Typically, once you get it down the first couple of times, you're able to have many of these evolutions throughout your life. And you understand that the only thing that's ever in your way from having those evolutions is discipline. Scorpio, you need to start looking at your energy, your presence as a kind of currency, because every single interaction that you have with another individual, someone is always cashing in on your energy, whether they realize this or not. So you need to start being more deliberate. Only spend where it multiplies your mission. And we've just recently come out of all of these retrogrades. They've been nonstop for, it seems like, forever. So the path really is clear for you now, Scorpio. You have a really big opportunity here to take a big step forward on your path towards whatever this is here that you've been trying to manifest. I do see something coming through for you here. There's a manifestation completely realized inside this energy. There's many different micro steps that you've had to take in order to get to this point. But the first step was you releasing yourself from the chains of whoever or whatever had been blocking your path. Usually it's going to be a whole combination of things: mindsets, behavioral patterns, addictions for some, whether big or small, and people who also hold that energy in your environment. And when you're chosen for a specific path, it is up to you to be disciplined enough to say no more, break free from those chains, and go out and step into your God-given mission that was assigned to you before you even came here. See, in order to exist in these old cycles, you need to remain small. You cannot coexist with these people and expect to rise, because they won't let it happen. They will do everything and anything to try and pull you down. And usually it's going to happen psychologically. And Scorpios need a strong support system of people that are loyal. If you can't have that right now, Scorpio, then you have to walk the path alone. Eventually, you'll find your people, but you cannot settle for any less, especially when you have been chosen with something as unique and monumental as what God has hand-selected for you and this path that you're aligning with. What do we have at the solar plexus, please? Queen of Swords, air energy at the solar plexus. Okay, perfect. So I was just mentioning that you need to break away from energies that aren't supporting you. And the Queen of Swords is the perfect energy to follow that message, because this is you now entering into this space of self-preservation. You're protecting yourself is really what it comes down to. And that's right there at that solar plexus position, which is highlighting your self-confidence, right? Which is the key to all of this. If you don't have that, you've got nothing to work with, Scorpio. So that's why the influence you have around you at this time is so important. Again, if it's not feeding you, if it's not nourishing your soul, if it's not adding to your mission, you're being guided to not even entertain it at this time. And that's the thing. When you start to understand how this works, Scorpio, and you start to seal off any sort of entryways to you, metaphorically speaking, and literal. But when you really start to seal off your energy, you'll start to notice all these strange occurrences happening around you. People doing the absolute most to try and connect with you, get in your energy, weird little offers coming in out of the blue. There's so many different ways this can show up. And what that is a kind of force in the universe, an opposing force that can feel the empowerment that you are harnessing from the deepest depths of your soul. It can feel you breaking those chains. And this is why you always hear about people who are chosen for these very unique missions like yours, going through these kinds of smear campaigns, right? It's like as soon as you go silent, you pull back your light, so to speak, the light that they refuse to see. When you start setting those real boundaries, that's when the smear campaign begins. I've been through it, and I've seen it happen to many other people who have stepped into their calling. It's all a part of it. So watch for any sort of sudden curiosity. But just know this, they're not asking, they're hunting, right? Don't forget, you are a mirror, and they must crack that mirror because that is their ultimate downfall, having to look at themselves. And when you think about that, it's wild, right? They do all of this simply because they don't want to put the work into healing themselves, which is what we are all sent here to do. We're born and then we have to heal ourselves, right? You are a walking, breathing reminder of everything they deny, suppress, and project. You refuse to take any more crumbs that these people are giving you, and you're not folding for pity, and that's why they fear you. What do we have at the heart, please? Hierophant, Taurus energy at the heart. Scorpio, there's an energy here that is expecting you to follow a kind of set path. I'm picking up on generational karma. These people want you to basically march in lockstep down the exact same path that all of them have already taken. Yeah, I'm hearing something in regards to you having to break yourself into palatable pieces to appease other individuals around you. Basically, another way of saying that where you are, you're expected to keep yourself small. You're being given two paths here, and there is no in between. You can either stay on this path where you are expected to follow some sort of societal norm, is what I heard. But I also feel that it's more of this energy of generational karma, just doing what other individuals expect of you. That's one path. Then the other path is you breaking free of that and following your spiritual path, what spirit has planned for you. What do we have at the throat, please? Seven of Wands, Leo energy at the throat. Yeah, there's this force that I'm feeling, Scorpio. It's very strong. Just individuals really trying to make you feel overwhelmed. It's like they just want you to give up. It's one of these situations as well where you come out the other end of it and you truly understand exactly why Scorpio is represented by the death card in the tarot. Death representing a kind of transformation, a rebirth, a death to the old. It cannot go. It needs to be completely annihilated and destroyed, reduced to ashes before you can push forward. See, every sign of the zodiac is tasked with their own kind of mission, right? But I would have to say that Scorpios have the hardest one out of all of them, because you're essentially destroying, annihilating this old version of yourself in order to become the person that spirit always intended for you to be. All those parts of you need to be put to rest. A complete breakdown of the person that you once were. You know, that Scorpio energy, it's very much like a superhero kind of energy. I always feel that because you go through these horrendous trials and tribulations in order to become the person that you were always destined to become. You can't just step into it. There's a whole entire boot camp that you're expected to go through. And some of you may go through this over and over again until finally you break through. It just really depends on how committed you are to the path. But one thing is for certain, once you begin to see the truth, there is no going back. So it really comes down to how much of that truth you want to accept in the here and now. Sometimes people don't want to know all the truth. They say they want to know it, and then when it comes to them, they can only handle it in small pieces. See, suffering is a kind of fire that burns away illusion, right? It has a way of really showing you who you are when no one's watching. In that silence, in that kind of wreckage, you meet this kind of raw power that you hold inside of yourself, kind of raw power that no one gave you and no one can take from you. See, Scorpios have to go through this kind of suffering and endure with pride. Because if you survive your own hell, Scorpio, you will walk through this world completely unshaken. And make no mistake, each and every one of us has our own hell that we need to deal with. See, hell is a vibration. It's a mindset. Just like we hear about Christ consciousness, you have devil consciousness. When you survive your own hell, this is just another way of really speaking about you doing all your shadow work, you looking at yourself in the mirror and facing off with all of those pieces of you that need embracing, those pieces of you that you need to call back because they were scattered somewhere across your path. This can be another way of speaking about calling back your energy. See, you figuring this out, Scorpio, and actually engaging in doing this is incredibly threatening to these other individuals. It has a way of shattering an idea of what they thought their reality actually was, when in truth, you were the one that was always sent to be the breakdown of just that, the reality that they constructed on an illusion that saw you remaining small, silent, and absent to your purpose. What do we have at the third eye? Page of Wands, fire energy at the third eye. Right now, you're really being faced with this struggle between tradition and innovation, right? Tradition meaning, well, in the sense of this reading, that's representing what is expected of you. And then this innovation is really speaking about what spirit is trying to align you with. And I feel that everybody, whether you're a Scorpio or not, faces this at some point in their life, especially if you were trying to do something unique or different on your path. And it really goes without saying, but this is obviously the path of a black sheep, a chosen one. You were not meant to repeat the same old worn-out cycle and be a part of their tradition, right? I feel that so many of you have spent years trying to defend yourself and your beliefs, what you feel called toward. And what Spirit is really trying to make you understand is that you will never change these people's minds. It's time to move on with this Page of Wands at the third eye. These people make you feel like they don't know what it is you're trying to do, right? So then here you are over-explaining yourself, thinking that they just don't get it. See, but what you don't see yet, and hopefully this reading will help bring some clarity, is that the reason why you're not getting this support, again, is because of how it makes them feel about themselves. You know, simply put, it's like they don't want you to go out and be great, even though they know you can be, because it makes them feel bad about themselves. And I just heard, you become dangerous the moment you no longer need approval for the way you are moving through life. See, a lot of you right now are struggling with that idea, that knowing that you're not supported on your path because of the way it makes them feel about themselves. That takes a long time to come to terms with, because you start to see that these people are traitors, that their support for you was obviously conditional. They only support you as long as it means that you're always going to be one step below them, a little smaller than them, right? As soon as you start expanding beyond what they feel comfortable with, that's when we've got a big problem here. And that's where Scorpios inevitably are always going to get to. You keep expanding. That's your path. And there's not a lot of people, if any at all, that are going to support that in the beginning. It takes you going down that path alone, working inside of that space. And as time goes on, the universe will begin bringing people into your environment that are loyal to your mission or that you can extract wisdom from. What do we have at the crown, please? Empress. Libra, Taurus, Venusian energy at the crown. Scorpio, there's so much potential here for abundance and success. Now is the time to really start focusing on any sort of projects or creative endeavors. It's very clear. You need to release what is not supporting you because it's never going to change. And I'm also hearing something about they play stupid, right? Like they don't understand. But again, like I said, they understand perfectly who you are and what it is you're meant to do. See, that's the thing. The universe gave them the sight to be able to see that in you because the universe wanted to test them to see how they treated you. So it goes all the way back to what we said about you being incarnated into these communities. You were the awakening. You embody that. So not only do you need to overcome these situations with these people, but amongst all of that, the divine is also collecting evidence, preparing for their judgment, for the way they treated you and the lack of support that they showed you. And, it wasn't even that it was just a lack of support. Sometimes that's not necessarily a negative thing. There are people out there who may not understand exactly what you're doing, so they can't really support you, but it doesn't mean that they don't wish you well, right? See, there's a difference. These people here formed weapons deliberately to stop you, to pull the wool over your eyes, and play stupid like they don't know what it is you came here to do. And they spent a lifetime doing this. This entire time, they just laughed in your face because they thought you were too naive to ever actually see the truth. It wasn't that you were naive. You were just trusting because you thought they loved you. You thought that by default they had your best interest in mind. And that's another hard lesson that Scorpios need to learn. Just because you're close with people, just because you're blood related to people, it absolutely does not mean that they have your best interest in mind. Abundance is your birthright, Scorpio. It's connected to all of this. We have the Empress right at the crown. So you can stay right where you're at with these people, however that shows up for you. You can keep making yourself small to appease them, or you can leave it behind and go get what's yours. What do we have at the foundation, please? The moon. Pisces energy at the foundation, Beelzebub. So there's a lot that Spirit is trying to illuminate to you right now, Scorpios. And I feel like it's coming through in your dreams and subconsciously. Okay, I'm also hearing something about your environment. Spirit speaking to you in colors, sending you signs in color. Pay attention to the colors that keep calling you, okay? The ones that show up in dreams, in clothing, in flashes of memory, in patterns that won't stop repeating. These aren't coincidences, okay? These are energetic messages. See, each color holds a frequency, and each frequency speaks to a chakra, right? What is red asking you to do, right? Root chakra, the foundation of your life, your stability. What truth does blue want you to speak, right? Throat chakra. So these hues around you aren't random. They're kinds of invitations. So listen, align, and act. And of course, look around you. I'm seeing a lot of red right now in my mind's eye, which is really speaking about the shifting foundation of your life. See, energy speaks in kinds of subtle signals. But once you really start to learn this language, and it's going to be custom made for each one of you has your own language that you use to communicate with the universe. But once you start to realize this, you come to understand that the world has been whispering to you this entire time. If you keep seeing things repeat, just jump online, look things up. Okay? And I feel that you're going to find little messages amongst all of that. These are kind of like benchmarkers, right? See, whenever we're getting close to some sort of breakthrough, we're going to start seeing more and more synchronicities. It's sort of like the universe is saying to us, okay, you're getting warmer, right? So they'll increase. And these synchronicities have a way of calibrating your intuition. And the way you go about doing that is just by understanding that you're communicating with the universe, let's say by way of your environment, and naturally calibrates your intuition, clears out that channel because you're essentially exercising that muscle. You're exercising your awareness to recognize the language that the universe is using to speak to you with. What do we have at the sacral, please? Perfect. The Fool. Right underneath that Magician. So I just heard, sometimes you have to play the fool to fool the fool who thinks they're fooling you. And I mentioned something earlier on in the reading about letting them believe that they've won. But really, in truth, you've been sitting back and observing. This Fool card from this deck encapsulates this energy that I'm picking up from them perfectly, right? Like we mentioned, it's like they're fully aware of what it is you're trying to do, your path, because the divine gave them the sight to see that, to see how they would move, to see if they would support you, to see if they would try and stop you, So here they are looking kind of sneaky, kind of tiptoeing around like, oh, yes, I don't really understand what you're trying to do, Scorpio, but, why don't you just stay here, right? The most basic example that they're wanting me to give you right now, because it's going to be something that everybody can understand, but say like Superman had a sister, okay? An older sister. And this older sister knew that he was obviously a little different than everybody else. And rather than support him and encourage him to go out and be Superman, she tried to keep him small, right? Oh, you're just weird. Nobody's going to think there's anything special about you. You're not going to make any sort of difference in the world. When in truth, he had the power to protect the world from certain kinds of evil, right? It's very similar here. And especially with this magician, right? This is you becoming the Superman in your life. Showing the world what you have without apology. So many of you, I keep going back to this, have kept yourself small. You've allowed people to minimize your gifts, your talents. Some of you are so deeply wounded by this that it's taken all this extra time to actually heal from this. But I feel that where you have arrived on your path now, and of course, this really matters where in the journey you're at, I feel that enough healing has taken place to where you can finally let go of the expectations of what other people laid upon you, right? These people wanted you to become that person that really stood for all of the things you could have been, right? Because that's where they're at. What do we have at the solar plexus? I'm also hearing something here, Scorpio, about certain people in your family. Too many cards. Seeing something different about you, something special about you when you were younger. It's like you were this it's like seeing like a 3, 4, even 5-year-old child, but they just seem so wise. They almost have this energy like there's this older wizard that's trapped inside of them, right? It's like that is the energy that I'm picking up from you. And as you've gone throughout your life, you have had to repress that by way of circumstance and conforming, right? What do we have the solar plexus, please, Spirit? Wow. Literally followed everything we just said. Because the Hermit from this deck is read as the Hermit in its negative polarity. So the Hermit is all about introspection, soul searching, right? Following your inner guidance, which is what we have been touching on throughout the reading. But this Hermit here, totally different. It's the opposite of all that. This is somebody who's going down that alternate path, right? The path that Spirit didn't want you to go down, right? It's the path that you stay on with all these other people. It's essentially the opposite direction from your intended path. See, this is one of these energies where you have a choice to go towards your north node, right? Or go towards your south node, the opposite direction from your intended destination. I'm also hearing something here, Scorpio, about some of you out there have done a lot of healing work on yourself. And what you have noticed is that you have less support since you've done this, right? So maybe there's things that you've overcome in your life and you thought that people would be proud of you. People would cheer you on, but you've actually gotten a very silent response. It's left you feeling like people wanted you to stay stuck or broken or sick or whatever it is you've overcome, right? And some of these things you may have actually wanted to do, not just for yourself, but to make the people around you proud. And it's had the complete opposite effect. It's almost as if these people support you even less than they did before because you've become a threat, because you're actually starting to accomplish things that they can't even do for themselves. When you start to recognize this in your environments, when you start to see that the people around you hold this kind of energy, it's very important that you do what you can to distance yourself from those energies, because that is a clear indication that these people are not here to support you. They're here to compete with you. What do we have at the heart, please? The Emperor, anger. Yeah, there's this energy here, Scorpio, that is watching you rise, and this energy is very threatened by you. It wasn't expecting this to happen. This Emperor from this deck is a very nasty energy. This is a very dominating, very controlling kind of energy. This is the kind of person that will flip on you as soon as you're doing better in your life. But I'm talking about the kinds of things that you improve within yourself that trigger an elevation, right? There's significant changes. This is when you really see their true colors. And then right here, we have the Fool again, but different polarity here. Okay, you have a whole new beginning here. I feel like we've been working up to this energy. There's been a lot of Scorpios inside the collective that have been taking these small steps towards these things that you're preparing to manifest into your everyday waking life. And now is go time. This is it, right? I've been speaking about this for months and months in all of the readings, right? Prepare yourself. We're going to have this window of opportunity. This is it right now, today. Okay. So now is really to start pushing forward, start putting yourself out there. Okay. Taking chances, breaking out of your comfort zone. Scorpios are very methodical in the way they move. So you like everything to be just so before you do something. And I totally get it. Being a Scorpio myself, this is how I do things too. But you can also get obsessive inside that space, and you can also get too comfortable inside that space. So you have to put yourself in energies where energies that make you feel a bit uncomfortable is really what it comes down to, Scorpio. Okay. Almost like putting yourself in positions that almost scare you, because you were so comfortable in that space up until that point. But this is how Scorpios break through. You have to break through your own fear of change or how others might receive you. And the Fool card, this is a spontaneous energy, so it makes perfect sense that we're getting this here, right? Just being a bit more spontaneous. I feel like you have some wiggle room now, Scorpio. Take a chance, okay? The worst thing that can happen is something doesn't work or you get a no. And then what? You get up and you try again, now knowing a little more than you did before, right? Which can really speak about what I feel some of you might be preparing to do. Might not be a cakewalk, okay? You might hit a couple of bumps in the road, and that's okay. Just get up and keep going. Eventually, you're going to get a yes. Eventually, a door is going to open. Eventually, you're going to get that breakthrough. I always say this, failure, a no, a dead end, a blockage can be a very positive thing, because now you know what doesn't work, right? So you can use all of that to narrow your options. Arm yourself with even more wisdom and say, okay, well, I tried that. That didn't work. Let me try it this way, right? That's the attitude you need to have. If you get 9 no's and 1 yes, well, that 1 yes makes up for all of those no's. All you need is 1. Don't forget that. It really comes down to getting better at failing, right? Which is just another way of saying getting back up. Don't allow your failures to defeat you. In fact, very rarely will Scorpios get it right the first time. The universe expects you to fail over and over again because you need to extract wisdom from that space. So when you finally do succeed at something, you have this amazing story. Yeah, I tried it like 100 times. It just didn't work, But I just kept getting better every time. I kept trying things differently. And then finally, I broke through the other side. But I'm grateful for having had all of those failures because it made it that much better, right? What do we have at the throat, please, Spirit? 6 of Cups, Scorpio, that is your energy right there at the throat. And this is following what I just said perfectly. Motivation lifts up those who are fallen and humiliated. God who steers all men, right? So I feel like this is really speaking about how unique your path is and how there's no coincidences, right? Everything that happens on your path is supposed to happen just so, because it's all a part of what is going to take place when you reach your destination, Scorpio. See, there's this energy here where these people, they can feel it, right? They want you living in the past. They want you just living out that same karmic cycle year after year. It's too much for them to even compartmentalize seeing you in this energy. I mean, think about that, right? An individual who struggles through these horrendous family dynamics and or even in their communities and friends groups, nobody supports them. Everybody calls them weird or just kind of makes them feel like they're less than everybody else. And then this person finally has the courage to go out on their own, go after their dreams, whatever it is. And they succeeded it. And so now this person is in all their glory, succeeding, doing exactly what all these other people told them they would never do. That's you. That's your energy. And none of these people can be a part of that. I mean, that's sad when you think about it, right? Because that person who's now in that success seemingly has no one from their past to share it with, but it has to be that way because they never would have pulled it off had they tried to drag these other people along with them. But it still doesn't make it any easier, and I get that. It's like a different kind of heartbreak because it's a heartbreak that you feel in success. And there's also this realization that washes over you that you have to come to terms with that had you not of self-empowered and pushed forward on your path, those people would have kept you inside of that energy, inside of that space forever. That's a terrifying thought, right? People knowingly keeping you away from your destined path because it makes them feel better about themselves. What do we have at the third eye, please? Wow. Look at that. The devil. Right there at the third eye. Samiel. Seduction and downfall. Okay, so right underneath that page of wands. So it's like here you are walking away from this energy, this devil energy. You see it now for who it is, right? See, the devil is working through these people. This is what this is. I mentioned something about a kind of force in the universe, right? That feels you, breaking free, self-empowering. This is that energy. This is that opposing force that doesn't want you to break path and become the black sheep. It wants you to stay on that path where you're expected to walk and talk and move a certain way. But you see it now. And like I mentioned, once you see it, you can't go back. See, this energy right here exists in these situations, these events, inside these people. They hold this energy. This is what they sold out to. This is what they're having to wake up to now. It's as clear as day. And now we know why they did as much as they did. Right? To avoid having to look in the mirror. Because when they look in the mirror at themselves, that's what they see. The devil. So it makes perfect sense now. In order for them to heal, they have to face the devil inside of them, right? What do we have at the crown to close this out for Scorpio? Six of Swords, Aquarius energy at the crown to close out the reading. Perfect. So the Six of Swords here is speaking about your rite of passage, Scorpio. This is you moving on from the pain of this situation, okay? You're leaving it all behind. And whenever I see this card, it's like this angel is flipping off in the gentlest way, right? The past, these people, these situations. It's like an angelic form of flipping the bird to the past and to everything that tried to stand in your way on your path. So however this resonates for all of you Scorpios right now, and whenever you come across this reading, the takeaway from all of this is that your path has been cleared. Now's the time. Break out of any sort of comfort zones you may find yourself in right now. Go through that fear. And also know that when you feel some fear of maybe being seen or heard or whatever it is for you in your path, although that can create some anxiety in the moment, it's on the other side of that where you have these amazing breakthroughs. And as a Scorpio myself, this is very true. okay? This is something that I also have to deal with myself. But I can tell you that when you push through this energy, you most definitely are gifted with something on the other side of this, because not only are you breaking through your own limiting beliefs, but this has a way of sending out an energetic shockwave through the rest of the collective. And how this is made possible is typically found in you stepping into that new energy, whatever that may be, right? There's something influential about the way Scorpios move. So just remember, again, if you feel fear, if you feel that anxiety, if you feel like you can't do something, that's the direction you need to go, Scorpio, because that is this devil energy that exists all around us that wants to creep back into your mind, unearth all of those things that people have said to you on your path up until that very moment. Repeat them like a broken record so you don't break through those chains and step into a certain power that brings a new level of awakening and awareness to you and all of those who come in contact with you on your unique path. All right, Scorpios, this is what I have for you. I hope that there's some messages here to help support you on your path. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I do have memberships open right now. I upload extra videos there if that's something you're interested in. And I am accepting personal reading bookings at this time. You can find all of that information down below. And if this reading resonates with you, drop me a little scorpion emoji and or a comment down below, and I'll speak to you again. Take care.